Hello, good evening, and welcome to the curtain raiser for the Toto Award 2022's short film category. This is the second curtain raiser event preceding the virtual award ceremony on the 19th of February. To introduce TFA, Toto Funds the Arts, Toto Funds the Arts was established as a trust in Bangalore in 2004. It was set up in the memory of Angiras Toto Velani, who passed away in a tragic accident in Goa on May 24th, 2004. TFA gives young Indian artists a platform to share their work through readings, film screenings, talks, and other arts-related events. TFA also hosts annual awards in the fields of music, creative writing in English and Kannada, photography, and short film. Rather than achievement, these national level awards are more in the nature of recognizing potential for artistic growth in these fields. TFA introduced 2 awards in the short film category in January 2013, making this the 10th edition of the Toto Short Film Awards. These awards are supported by O2 Financials, a Bangalore-based wealth management company. We received 117 applications for the 2022 awards, of which 4 have been shortlisted. They are Shubham Ghatge from Baramathi, Maharashtra for the film Daura, Aakash Chhabra from Panipat, Haryana for Mintgumri, Akshay Ingle from Akola, Maharashtra for Mahalle School, Family Going Live, and Megha J Shetty from Udupi, Karnataka for Enso. These films respectively portray in poignant and unique ways resilience in the face of socio-political absurdities, personal and the inevitable challenges of aging and the unexpected and sudden changes in the conditions of living. How did the filmmakers approach such difficult subjects? What inspired them to make films? How do they envision their future film practice? To help us understand this and more, this evening we have award-winning filmmaker Priyanka Chhabra talking to 2 of our shortlisted filmmakers, Megha Shetty and Shubham Ghatge. A little about our moderator, Priyanka. Priyanka studied film at the National Institute of Design and has continued to work as an independent filmmaker, editor, and sometimes graphic designer and illustrator. As an editor, she has worked with filmmakers, artists, and collectives, editing trailers, long documentaries, advocacy films, and artist film works, including Prison Diaries, Women of Varanasi, and Cool Memories of a Remote God. As a director, her work explores themes of memory, landscape, and relationships of people to places. Her recent work has focused on narratives emerging from the partition of Punjab in 1947. Pichla Varka, the previous page, a feature-length documentary that remembers the partition through experiences and memories of her grandmother and her group of friends living in West Delhi. Ikrar Nama is based on the personal archive of a Punjabi refugee from West Pakistan set in Amritsar, supported by the India Foundation for Arts, Bangalore. Her previous works include A Summer Flu, Shape of Trees, Shame Was a Place Inside, and The Furnished Room, which have been exhibited at Obenhausen, Rotterdam, York, Kalagari, Mumbai, and Kerala. This curtain raiser event, as have been all the curtain raiser events in the series, has been supported by Sucheta, Rashmi, Madhavi, and Deepthi in memory of their late father, Shantinath Desai, pioneering modernist of Kannada literature. And now, over to Priyanka, looking ahead, a new generation of filmmakers, part 1.
Thanks for that introduction, and thanks to Tuto for inviting us to have this conversation. It's very exciting to look at new work that's coming out. So Shubham and Megha, welcome. Would you put on your videos?
Hi.
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 Hi. So, since we don't have a lot of time and there is so much to talk about, I'm going to just quickly jump into questions about both your work. I wanted to start with uh, this thing about your relationship with film and cinema, a little bit about yourself, where you come from, since the places are such an important part of the films, and what is your relationship with cinema and moving images? How did it develop? What inspired you? If there are any specific anecdotes of films you want to talk about, so would you like to start?
Yeah. So I come from a place called Udupi. It's a coastal town of Karnataka. So I'm not a film student. I never thought I'd make movies or anything. But when the lockdown started, I got myself an iPad. So I was so excited, and I till then I didn't have any proper resource in hand. I didn't have a phone with good camera or anything. So once I got that iPad, I was overexcited and started shooting everything around me. And I made 1 or 2 short films there, like with the iPad, and then I made Enso last year. So before that, it was just shooting on iPad whenever I wanted, as I wanted, with all my cousins. So I did that. That is how I got into filmmaking.
And something about what sort of started you thinking about that this is something that you want to explore. So what inspired you? Films that you sort of remember?
Yeah. So as a child, I used to watch. We only had the option of Doordarshan, so they used to telecast all these movies from all the languages. But there was this one Kannada movie called Dvipa, directed by Girish Kasravalli. I was a lot inspired by that. In that age, I didn't know that I was inspired. I loved watching it again and again. Whenever it used to telecast, I never missed a chance to watch it. And after that, now when I look back, I feel that it is the major influence, the rain in Dvipa or whatever. So that has come in my movie too. So maybe that is the inspiration I drew from. That is where I drew from. And after that, in recent times, when I was in college, I watched this movie called Ulidavar Kannante. That also moved me a lot. So I saw my place, my native as in Udupi, in a very new perspective. None of the movies had shown Udupi in such different way. So that was really inspiring. And yeah, so the realism in movies, all that inspires me a lot. And one more movie called Lachava. He was also a Toto awardee, Jai Shankar. So that movie also moved me a lot. I fell in love with that movie. So these are the movies of recent times that I really loved watching.
Okay. Shubham, you want to speak about where you come from, how that has inspired your filmmaking?
I come from a town called Baramathi. It's like 110 kilometers from Pune, and it's a sugar belt town. Like lots of sugarcane cultivation and all happens there. And it's like a mixture of urban and rural culture. Like uh, it has like that the cityscape also, and it has like villages around it. So I have been I belong to both the cultures because there were like both types of people I used to meet. And so basically I'm an engineer. I did BTech in dairy technology. And while I was in engineering itself, like I developed love for films. Like I used to watch most of the like Marvel films and all, not art house films. And I always wanted to make sort of like that slowly developed that I wanted to make some grand films like this and all. But after during my final year of graduation, I decided to give the entrance of FTI, from which like I found it from internet. Then I gave the entrance and I got the admission, hopefully, in sound department. I chose sound because while I was in my engineering course, I was working as a radio jockey in a local radio station, and I used to make music and like design podcasts and all these things. So like it wasn't easy to get into FTI because like family was like surprised that you are leaving such a good degree and you are moving towards filmmaking. We don't have anyone from like you don't have any background, all these things. But somehow I tried to convince, and I finally got into institute. Then after coming to institute, like here you see world class cinema, like classic films and all this. So me watching, I have watched all the 90s Marathi films, whatever Hindi films used to come on Set Max. The films in Marathi which were made in 90s were mostly comedy, mostly humorical. And so I always watched comedy films, and I wanted to do something like that now. So uh, after coming to institute, I got lots of guidance from my teachers and all the students also here. I got to know how we can use craft to like bring your own ideas on screen. So that's how I developed here. And in first semester, I made Pipania, which I shared with you all. And hopefully it was like there were lots of things gone wrong in that film, like the camera work and sound design and script writing was everything was like messed up, I know. And but the teachers around here, they guided me in the direction like how you can make more film, like how you can uh, do some advanced things in your craft and all. So so the pandemic came and we all had to go home. We had to vacate hostels. So already in institute, the course was delayed due to various reasons. And moreover, during pandemic, we all were at home. And that time, it was very tough to cope up with this time where you don't have any work to do. You don't have like friends near you, because if you are in the film school, you have lots of people around you with whom you can talk and share. But when you are at home, you can't talk much about films, you can't talk much about your aspirations with family. So that was issue I was facing. But the thing was, when I met Pipania, so I like the people, the village people, they got the sense of how the film works. They learned, okay, this is how the camera is placed. So light, camera, action, they learned it. Okay, so this is how it is. The sound is like this. So when I was in the institute, the people made a group there in that village, the actors who worked in my first short film, and they made a web series on YouTube. Made a web series, and that web series really worked
Can you repeat what
like
the web?
great.
Sorry, your video
And
went for a
they
second.
got my hello.
So can you repeat what the web series was called and where did they host it?
So the website, so they have a channel, Gavaran Films, on which my short film is also there. So they started a production house, small production house. They used to shoot on phone, and they used to call me. I used to go sometimes and help them with the things. And slowly, gradually, they learned the art of filmmaking. I used to edit for them first because they didn't know editing and all. But then slowly we started to develop a team there at my native place. We trained some editors, people to operate sound equipment, people to operate smartphone camera. And slowly we started to get funds and all, some sponsorships. Then we started to get good cameras. And now that web series is doing great. And like I'm happy to say that that village is like a small film city itself. So the actors have stopped doing all their odd jobs, and now they are full time into filmmaking. Now they all are good actors. And so they have developed a good filmmaking community there. If you go in that village and just shout silence going for a take, they know there's sound rolling, the tractors will stop, the people will shut down their televisions. So now that's why I also I told you that I don't want to go to Mumbai because of that, because I think I have found my industry there, and I'm very happy to develop it now.
That actually sounds like a lot of work and it sounds very exciting
Yeah.
because and it seems like it has developed over a period of time. So and people have taken interest. So it would be interesting to see the kind of stories they are telling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just taking off from that, I want to ask you, Megha, since you studied architecture and you also work as a graphic designer and you paint, so you have diverse interests and film is one of the things that you're doing. And you have made this really interesting film called Enso, from which it is hard to tell that there are other things as well that you're doing. But how was it for you in your family, like this Shubham is talking about, that if you don't sort of, have that reference as a filmmaking background or being involved in the arts, what does it take to sort of make that leap, negotiate with family? But also I'm asking this because you have made a film that is close to you around a subject that has, come from some things that you are thinking about. And I think there are parts of there are some family members and people who are part of the film, and that has been my experience as well. When I made Summer Flu, it was shot in my house, and my mother was in acting in it, and my cousin sister was the protagonist. And I don't think even now they know when I say silence what it actually means. So that's interesting, Shubham, that you say. Whereas I found that in a it's kind of taken as like, yeah, it's something you're doing, which is nice. But yeah, I want you to talk about it, Megha. Yeah.
So in my family, they are very supportive. I don't have any, like, initially they tried convincing, but then I didn't listen. I don't listen, they know it. They say they once ask me not to do it, and then I do it anyway. So they don't negotiate now. So they've given up on me. So it's not a problem at all. And my family, where I come from, it's a bunch of talented my cousins. I don't have to tell them anything. The kids that you see in Nalit Nalige, Pitta Batter, my influence, there is no influence of mine. They take the thing and they do it on their own. I just have to guide them here and there a little bit. So I don't have to talk about their talented scene. So, and they are also very serious. They ask me to do films. Like when I'm not doing, my cousins, the kids know, they come to me, Megha, when are we shooting next? When are we shooting next? So this is the kind of support I get from the place I am in. So I don't have any challenges from family side or relatives.
Okay, that's great. So, and some of your previous works, which I saw, Pitta Patter, well, actually it's very interesting. I was wondering if those dialogues were scripted, or how do those kids actually go on for so long and make the whole sort of situation so interesting? Whereas what we are seeing is them just standing with the umbrella and
Yeah.
rain. So that so there is a minimalism in the way you compose your frames and the sort of details you choose to put in. There's also very interesting way that you edit Enso specifically, because of the spaces, in the sense of when the phone calls are happening between the daughter and the father, you stay with the one person. You don't sort of intercut between the two or jump from one space to the other. And considering that the film is about mental health struggles, it's about loss, it's also about love and care and affection and nurturing relationships through grief. Can you speak about both these things, about your style of filmmaking, which I think also comes through in that film about menstruation, where this, the camera is static, but there is so much going on with this woman. There's so much going on in your head where you don't really need dialogue. I mean, there's not much spoken, but with the editing, you sort of build that sense of anticipation, and then she gets out. So if you can just speak a little bit about your style, editing technique, and your topic for Enso.
Style, I think a major influence is the architecture college. So before that, whenever I used to paint, I used to do a lot of realistic paintings, and whatever was taught, it was a skill that I had from childhood. And if I see a peacock, I would just draw a peacock like as it is. And after unlearning certain things in architecture college, I had to learn few things again. So minimalistic way of saying things is one thing I developed there. So it gradually came into my works. Like it was not conscious effort that I didn't want to become a minimalist and I became one. It just sort of happened. With the spaces I built and I designed in my college during my projects, the same thing sort of transferred here also in my paintings or in the film that I've made. So I like that, like the frames very minimalistic and them to be static. I don't want a lot of confusions to be happening. if this when the frame is static, I feel like we can give more importance to detailing that is there. You can pay a lot of attention to the subtle things that are there in the frame. When you cut into one thing to another, and that is very confusing to me when I look at other movies. No, when it is static and it is nice, and I have that peace of mind when I'm looking at something like that. So that is why I like it is. I think it's very personal, because I think I have that OCD. I am like this, and I want to make minimalistic things. It's not just that I have minimalistic clothes also. Everything about me is minimalistic. So yeah.
And do you want to, will you speak a little bit about the themes that you are exploring in Enso?
Yeah.
Whether it's suicide, mental health
Yeah.
struggles, grief, loss.
So when the story of Enso came to me, I didn't think that I will make a movie. I just thought that I should write. Like this was a very personal story. I lost my brother in September. So after that, I was off. I was not into anything creative. I was not able to do as in I was not even trying. Nothing creative came out of me. And then one day I felt like it is high time that I should do something, and I pushed myself out of it. And then after that, gradually, that was not when I wrote Enso. After 2 to 3 months, I took my time to just, to accept the thing that has happened. So suicide is not easy to digest. It's really, really hard. It was a traumatic experience. And after that, that's what. After I wrote Enso, one thing, I didn't make do anything creative in that span of time, because I didn't want this lot of influence that is there, the heavy emotions, to be there in my paintings or in the movie I make. So I took my time. I didn't write it when I was in that mood. I came out of it, and being an outsider when I wrote the script for Enso, I tried doing that, but I don't know, it might have come out very like personal thing also. Yeah, for me it worked as a therapy. In these kind of traumatic situations, you don't get a closure. So it was kind of closure I gave myself, and it worked to an extent. And I also felt responsible, because we don't talk about many of the struggles. So many families go through the same thing. Everybody experiences loss at some point of time, but it's always glorified, or it's not shown in a realistic way. So suicide, I think we should talk about it. And people who have experienced it, if they talk about it, there is some kind of a realistic sense to it, and the intensity of it, and so you can share the story very well with others, and that might help in some way. That it's not just them that who are going through it. There is a community, and we are all in the same boat. So that is why I felt it was important to make this movie.
Yeah, I think it's really brave of you also, and of your family, to bring out the story, to sort of externalize it in that way and be able to talk about it, because these things can take so much time, and like you said, there is no closure. But also to have an image of it, and a story that is going to last much longer and circulate among many more people, I think that it's actually really brave of you.
And so many things I couldn't face when I was thinking about it. Whenever some thoughts came to me, I used to run away. So when I started writing things, is when I actually faced the realities, and that sort of helped me a lot. Not the script of Enso, but overall, when I started writing or painting, anything of that sort really helps. So it worked for me. That is just, I wanted to share it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because I remember this one shot very clearly, which is taken from the top, and that's usually I think when the girl is in the hospital, she's probably gotten admitted, and she's on this drip, and the shot is just on the top where she's talking to her father, and there is no kind of a sort of stylizing the situation, or I wouldn't say exploiting, but yeah, working with the emotions. It's kind of as is, which is a hard thing to do. And I think having been through that journey for yourself, it kind of brings a certain honesty, and there's an earnest approach to how one deals with loss. I mean, it's in any case, there is no sort of clear pathway to do that. So yeah, I'm going to move on to Shubham's work, Daura, and Pipanya as well, because I think one sort of possibly led to the other. And I think there are some of the actors who, the protagonist is probably the same person.
Yeah. Actually, most of the actors are same. Even technical team is also same.
Okay, so maybe you could choose a little, tell us a little bit about the process of choosing your cast, and also the theme of Daura, and how you sort of developed the story. Is it something that you wrote it along with the people who you had cast, or is it something that you had thought of? Did you improvise the dialogues? What has been the process for you in making Daura?
So like after I made Pipanya, so one thing was I developed a bond with those people. I knew how they were as a person, how they are as actors. They are not professional actors, like they didn't have any course or something. So there's a different way you need to talk to them, explain them the things. So during Pipanya, I developed a very good bond with them. And honestly, for Daura, I think characters were first. I know these are the people I want to make films with, because that was pandemic time, the first COVID wave. And there were some characters I wanted extra, like wife of that Sarpanch also. There was a character for her. But I couldn't get the female characters because of pandemic, because the traveling restrictions were there and all. So that's what I decided, that I will make film with these people. And for me, the characters were the first, and I wrote story for them. It was not first the story and then the characters. It was the reverse process. Yeah.
So was it inspired by some kind of, I'm sure these are things that happen, across our country. Was it something that inspired you specifically to, bring in those moments? What I specifically remember is even though you're saying they're not professional actors, I didn't think of course, professional in the sense of trained for
trained
acting
actors.
in front of the camera, but I did get a sense of a certain influence of theater, perhaps. If you've grown up watching a lot of theater, there is a way that you understand performance, and how you frame the landscape and the people in it. A lot of it is like very long shots, just different from Pipanya. So which of course locates them in their context, but also allows them to perform in a certain kind of way, especially when the politician is coming and that whole thing is happening inside the house. But I also remember the nuance in the protagonist's expression when the politician starts lying about what's happening, and then this guy is eating and he just suddenly looks at him baffled, like how does one go on with lies of this sort? So if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So before doing my short film, they were doing this street play. So in villages, if there are any elections or some government program was they do the marketing of government programs, Swachh Bharat and all these things. So they used to do street plays for it. So they have been doing street play for a long time. So they have that. So we have this folk art called Tamasha in Maharashtra. So it's basically very loud sort of staged performances where like there's no microphone and all. They have to shout a lot to reach the audience. So they have that influence, yes, of that tamasha thing. And also one biggest challenge was to ask them to speak in very low volume, because there were lapels all around. They were not used to this lapels and all. So they used to shout a lot. So I had to spend a lot of time with them to make them like okay, you can speak in normal voices. I used to give headphone to them and make them hear their own voice. This is how it will sound in the film. So that was very, and the biggest thing is like they were not rigid at any moment. Like personally, I know it's very tough to like, I think in direction it's very tough to work with actors like established actors or people who have been acting a lot. It's very tough to convey your story like how you want them, but this was not challenge with them, because I have been knowing them for a long time. So I didn't face that challenges with them, because they are very like moldable.
I suppose it also helps that they are very interested in telling similar stories or presenting. So there is already that kind of camaraderie about that we are making this together.
Yeah, exactly. The actors, actually, my protagonist was Sarpanch himself. वो गांव के वो सरपंच थे before some years, and this story is like real. This is what happened in reality in near my village, where so this good morning squad was established. Like people were going outside in the morning, they were asked to pay 500 rupees fine. So people used to like go as early as could they go, like early morning, to avoid fine. And if they there was a man who was chased down, and he died of a heart attack because he was chased by this good morning just to avoid 500 rupees fine, and he died due to attack. And after that there was a political storm in Maharashtra. Like if you see the news and all this, from I think 2008-7 time this happened. And lots of so concerned minister had to come. And even in my villages, many times this politicians comes, and I used to watch how the things change gradually, where they are going to come. So it will get clean, the roads will be mopped off, roads are washed like with water. Roads, the trees at the side of the roads are also washed, so that there's leaves look green and all. So this I have been observing from my childhood, and I just enjoyed making this film because I had most of the things which we see in the film, I have witnessed them in reality.
Yeah, I was wondering though, does the lock ever get opened? Does that toilet get used? Because this is something I think people who have been to villages, or they know that this is there is this whole thing about Swachh Bharat, but actually in reality it's very hard to actually get a toilet made, or you'll get one made for like a few families. Sometimes then there's no water or cleaning and all of that. So I was curious that
yeah, even so government had launched many schemes in like they give toilets to the people who don't have it in a very subsidized rate and all this. But still, so there are many challenges. First of all, there are many people who don't opt for it. They give various reasons that no, we can't do this, because from childhood we are trained to go outside and all these things. So that's a different thing. But that the question which you asked, that whether that locks gets opened or not, I think I'm still finding answer to that, because I don't know.
Okay. I'll just ask you to speak about two things. One is when I was watching both Pipanya and Daura, was wondering about the female characters, and there is I felt a somewhat stereotypical way in which they're presented, which is very less dialogue, and also like the wife is nagging the husband, or she's kind of in this slightly emotional space shouting at him. So is it your is it challenging for you to relate to that? Is this how you see them? That is one thing. The other was about caste, and I think that comes out more in Pipanya, given that the protagonist is a musician, and that indicates that indicates his position within the community. In Daura, it's I found it. It wasn't overt, but I would like you to talk about it.
Yeah, so Pipanya, the musician specifically, which we show in that film. So it till today in Maharashtra, the opening scene of my Pipanya, like he plays in this procession and he's playing. If there are notes tied to his ears, and in one of my relatives' marriage, when I was very small, I saw that they used to throw a 50 rupees or 20 rupees note on the ground, and that musician has to play While playing, he has to kneel down and he has to pick up that note with his forehead, the forehead which has sweated. He has to pick. So this now he plays an instrument known as halgi, the big drum. So I was very interested in that instrument. I used to love its sound. And one day when I was small, I wanted to play it. So there was this folk artist who used to daily come to like all houses in the villages and ask for money. He used to play and sing some devotional songs, and we used to give him money. So one day I took that drum and I started playing it, and some old kaka came and said that you should not play it because it's like that they are played by dead people only. You should not touch. So from that point onwards, like, I was thinking like, why is it like that? Why instruments are also divided in such a way? And if you see, most of the most of the folk musicians from Maharashtra are from a caste, and they are still paid very less. Now, government has launched this artist pension scheme, which I showed in my film. I think it was not much. It was 500 rupees a month to them, but like most of the people couldn't get it. When I was working in radio, so my the station head was Mr. Yuvraj Jadhav. It was a community radio, so it's basically like a government operated. And we used to invite folk artists from the all our places to play for our radio, because we weren't allowed to broadcast Bollywood and commercial songs. We had to make our own content and then broadcast it. So that time I developed a bond with this artist when they used to come in the studio and play. And I used to talk to them a lot, and most of them were like alcohol addicts. Most of them were like not in a good health conditions also. So while talking to them, I came to know lots of issues from their side, how they are not even treated properly in marriages and all. They play for like long time, and still they are last ones who are served food, and like lots of things. So drove me to write this script actually. And most of the incidents I have either seen or I have got them from artists themselves.
Okay, I'll move on to Megha now. Megha, I just want to ask you that your protagonists, don't use a lot of dialogue to express themselves. You frame them in a certain way, and it looks like there's a lot going on inside their head. There is a lot of I wouldn't say mystery, but there's, especially in that shot in menstruation, for example, she's sitting there with the flower, and it kind of like really goes on for a bit. And also, so do you want to talk about these internal spaces and what they sort of mean to you? What are you trying to, or what you feel is, what are you trying to express through that? Your mic, you unmute yourself.
Yeah. So I use less dialogues because with less we can say more. So the heaviness of emotion that is there in that pralaya, there are a lot of things that is happening. So when I show a certain kind of feeling on screen, maybe it won't give justice to what I'm feeling there. So it's better I stay on her face or whatever the action she's making, the gestures. That itself says a lot of things. If she is moving her hand like this, she's very she's longing for something. These small kind of gestures is what I like to play with, rather than like showing tears in her eyes and glowing extreme close and stressing on one emotion, because there are a lot of emotions that are happening when you look at it and the frame is stable, like fixed, and when you pay attention to whatever is happening, I think you can like figure out whatever emotions is happening. I don't have to forcefully ask you to see I'm crying, look, I'm going through so many heavy emotions. Audience are smart and they will understand. Yeah, so
do you want to share sort of challenges in making these films, but also sustaining your independent practice? and what you see as challenges for yourself in the current scenario of making films in general. If you don't want to share challenges,
yeah,
you
no,
also
it's
share
yeah. I'm a very positive person, so if you ask me what are the challenges I'm facing, I wouldn't say any, like, because the funding, usually people find it a challenge. For Enso, I didn't even think of funding. I just felt like I should make this movie, and I didn't give second thoughts about the movie because of funding or because of artists or whatever. It must happen, and it will happen. And I got a lot of support from my friends, family. I started this crowdfunding 2 months back, I think 1 month back, and I gathered a lot of money from there, which was decent enough. I could do this film, and then my company where I was working, they also sponsored me money. So money and everything will fall in place when we really want to do something. So there is no challenge.
Okay. Do you want to talk about your aspiration, future? Where do you see yourself making films or doing graphic design?
Yeah, I am very kind of go with the flow kind of person. So I am not at all ambitious. I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing. Today I feel like I should make paintings, and I'll make paintings. And tomorrow I might feel like I should make one more movie, and I'll make it. Or sometimes I feel like I should not do anything. So this 1 month I felt like I should not do anything. I just slept and ate, and I traveled a bit. So this is what I'm doing, and this is how I live my life. This 22 years, this is how I've lived. 27 years. I'm going to be 27 tomorrow. Yeah. Wish me.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
be able to stand by your choices is very important. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shubham, you quickly want to share challenges, aspirations, and then we can go on to there is a question in the chat box and we'll see what.
Like one of my biggest ambition is to, as I already told, I want my films to go in theater, because this from last 1.5 year, 2 years, we are seeing a boom in OTT platforms, all this. But I don't understand how even I don't enjoy seeing films in a small screen. I think films are something which we need to see in a community or with someone. It's not a thing which we need to see in a room alone by yourself and just eating popcorn. It's something, I think that's what worries me also sometimes, the rise of OTT, like how the theaters will survive, because that feel can't come in OTT platforms. And challenges, mostly what I face is going parallelly with these two styles of filmmaking. One is the one, because I want my films, if I'm making film on someone, a character, if I'm making a film on a farmer or any characters, so basically I need to make it in a way, in the way in which that community will also understand the film. Basically it should reach the people and let them make aware of the things. So that's what I'm exploring myself now, to develop that method or that style, we can say, where we can merge we should not be hyped about the technology, like using music, using lots of VFX and lots of things. But with minimalism, actually, I would like to say it's something I'm still exploring. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to quickly move on to, actually, maybe we don't need to be so quick, but there is a question and about, would like if Shubham could talk a little bit about the take on the women in his films. I think we missed hearing you about that. Would you like to say something?
Take on the women in his films. About what? I didn't understand the question actually.
I think just how you, I mean, what I felt also was that the characters, male characters, were more sort of, more sort of chalked out, more full in that sense. So, how?
Yeah. See, if you talk about Daura, it was a practical issue. because I wanted the like female characters with all the male characters, but it was practical not possible during that time, also not in a short film. But yes, I can agree on a point that see I'm still exploring about writing proper female characters, to be honest. Like I'm not that good in writing characters still now, not like I'm still exploring, learning it. So yeah, I want to portray them, but like I'm waiting for the right moment for it.
Yeah, I mean, writing character, yeah, of course, writing in any case is difficult, and writing for moving images or writing for films where you are
Maybe I belong, like I come from a background where I never saw females, how they go with like if there's an important decision to be taken in a village, if there's something where prominently a take has to be taken, because as your characters, your story comes from your experiences. So I never I till date I never saw like how women put impact in the village making decisions and all these things. I didn't witness them, to be honest, but that's what I'm still exploring about it.
Yeah, I suppose if you, I mean, I'm just responding to you. If you spoke to them about it, because we do find, I think we need to do some amount of work to explore things that we don't know about. So I suppose if you spoke to them about it, their understanding of it would perhaps, and I'm sure there is a lot going on there as well. There must,
Sure.
you know, its own internal politics, how they sort of perhaps influence decisions from in the background, because these are conversations in any community. This thing, there are conversations that happen at home, and then you sort of based on that make decisions in the community. I'm sure that is a big part of it. So it would be interesting to see that play out in your next film, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there's one question by Basav to Megha. First, he says, congratulations on Enso. It's a wonderful film. How do you see your filmmaking practice progressing from here? I mean, do you want to pursue full-time filmmaking, considering that mainstream space is what it is? It's quite difficult to make films. I think you have briefly answered that, but if you want to.
Yeah.
Say something
so it's about creative rush. Now I'm writing a script. Yeah, of course I want to make films in future. Full-time filmmaking is what I wish for, but because of the financial constraints and commitments that I have, I'm not able to do that yet. So once I can balance both of it, I think I'll directly like shift into full-time creative. I can't say it is just filmmaking for me. So I'll just shift to full-time, independently doing whatever I want to and explore creative freedom. Yeah.
Okay. I think if there are any more questions, if you can just put it in the chat box. Naveen T says, congrats, Megha, you are an inspiration. Please make more films. But if there are no more questions, I just want you to both, Shubham, I mean, you to talk about the landscape in your films. You know, you mentioned something about rain and how that, and it is really a part of it also creates a certain mood in the film, and I actually did not, the ending for me was really unexpected, and I thought it was very, very moving, how the I mean, I don't want it to be a spoiler, but how the female character sort of finds a sense of closure. I mean, or actually more than closure, I think it is a sense of connection with that person whose presence you will always feel, even though they are not there. So and there is a space where she travels to and she does it. And so if you just want to speak, and growing up in a place like that, there must be sort of all these feelings you have about the landscape, about the light, about the rain, all of that, the wind, and the kind of trees, etc. So you can just speak a little bit about it. I'm going to quickly read out 2 more questions which are addressed to you, so you can possibly answer them together. Basav is asking, after making these short films, do you feel the need for formal training? And Naveen T is saying, please tell us more about your writing process. Yeah.
So I'll start with the context and the surroundings. Rain was a major influence, and this particular movie needed it. So when I wrote it, the rush and the push that was there for us to shoot was the rain. So rain was going to end in August. So we had to rush for that, and we shot it because I was very particular on the rain and the mood and heaviness that it brings. So in my place, it rains continuously for 2-3 months, and we can't come out of the house without umbrellas. It's very heavy rains in that time. And in that heavy rains, personally for me, when I sit inside the house, you get your own space, right? In that space, you start thinking and thinking, and you get into a different kind of space. So rainy seasons, I don't know, I feel more connected to that. And whenever I think of my place, I think of rainy season. So yeah, it is kind of romanticized connection that I have with the rain. And at the same time, it is real also that it brings such heavy emotions, and that what is that roller coaster of emotions that it brings. That was a major influence here in the movie as well, because the topic was also was such that the rain was needed. And the last scene when when she travels, no, so till then all the spaces were closed. I mean, there was no I mean, it was very intimate space. It was inside the room with the father. Nowhere you get a sense of something is expanding or opening up, or something. I wanted some kind of hope to be there when she is going to another place, to the final destination where she goes near the bike. So that was because at that point she could face whatever was happening. She accepted that he is no more, and she in that was that journey. What I showed on the bike, it was that she's started to accept that it's not kind of happy and it's some kind of victory. It's not that. It's just that she's accepting it. She started to accept it. So that is why that openness was needed there. And then again you come back to the same emotional space where there are heavy, as she faces whatever is there, the bike, the same kind of emotions, it comes back with the kind of hope for the future and that acceptance, and it was a mix of emotions there as well. So I'll move on to Basav's questions. No, I don't feel there is a need for formal training personally for me, because film, I look at it as a series of paintings. So I make film because I can't finish telling you a story in one frame or in one painting. So it is a series of painting is what I look at. So I think formal training is not needed for any of creative output. It just comes through you. When there is rush, it will just come. You can't control it. So that is what happens with me when I want to do something and I can't control. Even whatever the previous films I made, I wrote it the previous day. Next day I was morning at 6 o'clock. I run to my sisters and say that please let us shoot. So that is the rush that I get usually. I'm very impulsive person. It works well in works very, very fine few times, and sometimes I miss a few things. So whatever the background work that was necessary for the film, I couldn't do it because of this impulsiveness of mine. I could have waited for next year's rain and work more on the script, more drafts. But that moment I couldn't control that. I just had to do that, and then it just happened. So in a way it is good, but I agree that I should work more on the script and spend more time with it. Yeah. So impulsiveness works sometimes and sometimes doesn't.
Yeah, I think you will find your own balance.
Yeah, as I do more of it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
quickly, I just want to say there is another question here. But when you were talking about, actually, I have also experienced the Manipal sort of, it's close by, right? Rains and
Yeah.
how heavy it can get, and the thunderstorms, and what the sky can be like. So I think it's not just the rain that you see, but the mistiness of the atmosphere, the fluidness of the fluidity, how everything sort of feels liquid and feels kind of crisp yet foggy. So I think perhaps there were those things also playing out in relation to the emotional landscape of the film. And of course animals, I think in both of your films, that is also a defining sort of like they are especially in Enso, the character of the cow is important in the sense of also how people relate to, in certain spaces which are not cities, relate to animals and what it means for them. They are a really big part of life and everything else. So you could talk about that. There is one question to Megha again. How did you handle the mental health scenes? Did you consult a professional? Anmol Villani is saying, I mean, he's quoting Rilke and saying, don't write unless you would die if you didn't. My guess is Megha would agree.
Yeah, I can't agree more.
Okay. Right. So about the mental health scenes, did you consult somebody? And there's also another question. Is there any scene or anything in the film which you planned and wrote something and something came out as something different or better while shooting?
Yeah. Shoot was a series of surprise. So whatever I wrote, I missed a lot of things. As in, dogs had a major role to play there. So because the location was different, I couldn't manage to get the dogs there. And in that short period of time, I couldn't make friends with them and do that. So I missed most of the detailing like this in this one. And of course, the few scenes I hadn't imagined them to be what it has come to be. It has come out differently, and what I had planned to do and what I've accomplished is two different things. I mean, there is a few 50-50 of both. Yeah, so there are so many details and everything missing. I'm not happy with what I've done, to be honest. I still regret that I should have done this. I should have done this. I have so many. I should have done this. Yeah.
Thanks, Megha. I think that's for most practitioners. I think I couldn't even look at my first fiction film for a bit after I had made it short film, and I kept thinking that it's not what I wanted to do. But Shubham, why don't you talk about that? I guess this process of re-engaging with your material once you have shot it, because I remember listening to a podcast by Mark Maron, who sort of speaks to a lot of filmmakers, directors, actors working in Hollywood, but he has this very interesting way of asking them questions. And he was talking about how when you are making films, you get into, I mean, that world of production and is also very real, but it's a completely different world. And then you have to come outside of it and start, of course, editing it and finish the film itself. And both they're like these bubbles that you get into when you're scripting and then when you're shooting and when you're editing. So how do you sort of engage with material after you have written it, after you've shot it, Shubham? And maybe you can also talk about the landscape and its specific characteristics in terms of just is, I don't know if your village particularly is hilly or if there are forts close by, just how that plays out for you.
First on when I write a script or whenever I write a story, I never think that it's going to be made into film now. Are we going to shoot it like this? Do we have enough resources? I try to write it flawlessly. And so after I wrote my film, so when I was discussing with my cinematographer and editor, so we had many technical limitations because of funding. So after discussing, we knew that it's not going to come as I have written it. because I think it never happens also. You can't expect everything to come as it is. The paper to screen transition is not that smooth, I guess, because it doesn't come on. Like I'm also not happy with my both projects, not completely happy actually. But one thing about Daura is I just love watching it myself. I like that film. I don't know. I just enjoy it every time I watch it. So that's, and about landscape. So my area, so it's mostly flat. There's no hilly regions and all, and it's on the bank of River Nira. So in my film you'll see that river many times. And it's a sugar belt. So sugarcane is integral part of the film. You'll see it most of the times, and specifically that house actually. That house actually I wanted to have a house in an open field, but due to like limitations and all this we couldn't get it, so we had to take a house which is in locality only. But about landscape, yeah, so I think this is a kind of the film which I can shoot it any landscape which I wrote. It's not that stuck to landscape thing. It's more of the characters and all these things. Because I shot it where I could. I didn't think much about what choices I have, because it was pandemic, so I didn't have choices to go out and shoot. So I shot it wherever I got the places. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I don't see any more questions in the chat box. For those of you who are viewing this discussion, there are links to their films, which can be, which is in the chat box that you can access. Is that what it is? Sorry, I don't know. Is there anything that both of you would like to sort of say about either your films, about making more work? I think, Shubham, there was a question, from Kiran Shinde saying, any plan to make a feature film version of Daura for the big screen?
Actually, when I wrote the script, I thought I will make a film of 20 minutes or so. So first cut was around 40 minutes. And like many of my mentors from whom I take the guidance, all them, they told that this is not a film, you should make it in 30 minutes. You should write it for a big format because it has that type of characters and all these things. So yeah, we are planning to make a feature film, but we had this discussion actually that can we make Daura as a feature film? But I think I don't want to limit myself for my first feature film, like, and don't want to adapt my own work, because I think I'm done with that story. I'm saturated with that content. So yeah, I'll try to make something different for big screen.
Okay, Shubham, all the best for that. If both of you want to say something, share something, please do. Otherwise, do you want to, Megha, Shubham, do you have something to say?
This one experience I would like to say, because it's I think it needs to be told to everyone. So we had this 10-day schedule, and after 5 days of schedule, one of my teammate got COVID. The assistant cinematographer got COVID, and we all were like, because it was first wave, so there was no vaccine and nothing at that time. So the shooting was stalled, and we had got equipments from Pune and all these things. So we had lots of our money also, like money was finished in the middle of the film, and I also got COVID positive. So I also went to hospital, and like lots of things happened. And after everything was relieved, I had no money to make films, take this film forward. But that time, the thing which really touched me, and I can't forget it in my life, that those villagers again did a crowdfunding by themselves. They didn't tell me also. I told them, like, I don't think I can complete this film because I don't have money. The villagers collected, all my friends collected, and they gave me a certain amount. Now they say, please complete this film, because if it has started, it's pride of our village and we need to complete it. So that was something I can never forget in my life, because see, when we say film is very personal, because or we make it for because I wanted to make it. But I think this film is not just because I wanted to make it, because this film is because they all wanted to make it, so it got completed. So that's what I wanted to share about this film.
Yeah, no, that's very Interesting, because earlier you mentioned that 500 rupee fine ke liye they would, go early to try and avoid it. So it gives a lot of value and meaning when they would come together and perhaps contribute whatever they could to make sure. But I suppose that sense of community is then something that is very important to everybody. And how they bring something together and put it forward for the world to see. So I think we can close the session now. So thank you, Megha and Shubham, and congratulations for the shortlist, and all the best for the award ceremony. There's also another conversation happening with Priya Naresh. She's also a TFA alumni, and she is speaking with Akshay Ingle and Aakash Chhabra. So
Akshay is my batchmate. I would like to include. He is my he's from same batch. He's from camera department, and he was during shoot of both of my films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So it's interesting that the two of you are part of this shortlist. So all the best, and thanks for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Kiran Shinde is saying congratulations for beautiful.
Thanks, Kiran.
Thanks, Kiran.
Okay, and now I'm going to pass it on to Leah. And bye.
Hello, on behalf of everyone at TFA, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today and making this event a success. We're truly grateful to Priyanka, Shubham, and Megha for taking time out to be here today. We have 2 more days of screening left, so please do watch the films if you haven't already, and join us on the 13th of February at 6 p.m. as filmmaker and TFA alumni Priya Naresh will be in conversation with shortlisted filmmakers Akshay Ingle and Aakash Chhabra. To register for the event, click on the link available in the Zoom chat box or head over to our social media pages. And the awards will be announced on 19th February at 6 p.m. on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We can leave the meeting room.